Avi Meyer's here for Welcome to Rabbi Doug, and actually, this is my show. Every time I see this guy, I think I'm watching him on TV, and he is on at all stations all the time throughout the universe, everywhere. And
Thank God.
Somebody I've known for a long time, and I'd like to introduce you to the one, the only Rabbi Doug. How you doing?
I'm great, Avi. And so now that I'm ready to start my interview with you, I just want to know, tell me how things are going here with Northtown News Magazine and the community. Do you feel like you're getting out the word? You know, you are the sole, you and Sonny together are the sole television producers of knowing what's going on politically and community-wise on the far north side of Chicago. And I think people don't know, or people who haven't seen your show before really don't know what a great show this is and how many people are exposed to the public who would never get the exposure if it weren't for you. Do you feel like your word is getting out? Do you feel like, today you've fulfilled what you're trying to fulfill by this TV show being on there for how many years now?
23, I believe.
So we're just about as close to the same amount of years, about the same.
The truth is, I don't know that I had an initial goal at all. It's like, I just kind of like, I'm more artistic than people think. And to me, it's like, just do it and feel it and go with it. But do I have an impact? I'll tell you this much. If the ward committeeman of the 50th Ward, Ira Silverstein, endorses a judicial candidate in the 9th Sub-Circuit, and I endorse a candidate, Ira's candidate, when we conflicted last time, got 443 votes, and my candidate got over 3 times that amount. So, yeah, people definitely, well, over the years, there's definitely been an impact. And, it's nice, even if I'm just taking the Lunt bus to Romanian, I mean, some guy in the back of the bus says, "You're on TV, aren't you?" Mm-hmm. And I said, "Yes." He says, "I really like watching your show. I learned so much about the neighborhood."
It's an important thing. And then, of course, your magazine newspaper that comes out around election time.
Right, Jewish
Chicago, it highlights information about each candidate in detail, and it allows the community, including the Jewish community and the non-Jewish community, to really look at things about the candidates that they never would have heard reading the newspaper, reading the Sun-Times or the Tribune or anything like that. And really, you've done a real good job with that.
Thank you. No, I try. And the fact is, you know what? It's like people ask me questions like, who's the most important person you ever interviewed? And I could give you a whole long list of people that are United States senators and ran for president and this, that, and the other thing. But you know what? They're mostly from the 70s and 80s, I hate to say it. Yeah. The fact is, I like the idea of working for myself. And I like to concentrate on, giving people an outlet to be able to see the kind of news. The fact is, the mainstream media does not cover a lot of very important things. And as a matter of fact, a lot of what they do cover is utter nonsense. And you couldn't pay me to watch the news on the mainstream media, other than Tracy Butler doing the weather, of course. Because Tracy is wonderful. She's a great lady and my favorite, and also one of my top 10 viewed shows of all time, by the way.
Well, I enjoy having on local celebrities on my show as guests, but I guess my passion besides celebrities are to have also politicians, but I go a little beyond. Besides having some of the same people that you have on, obviously in the community, people who make a difference in the community, I try and go on into the national. A couple of people now who are running for president have been on my show.
Cool.
And I just had Ambassador Dennis Ross on my show. I've had a number of authors on my show recently. I try and hit the gambit to get people on who people might not know and make a difference. And I hope that people will watch one of my upcoming shows. I just had somebody named Shuli Eshel who did a documentary. She's a filmmaker. She did a documentary about James McDonald, who was the first ambassador from the United States to Israel in 1948, appointed by Truman, who during the Roosevelt administration, he actually met with Hitler, Yamach Shemo. He met with him in 1933 face to face and knew what was going to happen and exposed it around the world and arranged visas for thousands of people. Nobody knew it until his diary was found. He died in 1964. His diary was found in 2003. And along with help from his two daughters, one who passed away soon after, this documentary came out. Just fascinating. So, you know, it's amazing for us both having the opportunity to meet fascinating people who make a difference in the world.
I do
and
enjoy that.
It makes a difference to our viewers as well. And you do such a good job making this community a place that people know what's going on in the community because of your show. I really am impressed with it.
Thank you.
And I wanted to bring that up while we're on TV together. We don't always talk about that when we're on TV together. We're at festivals or we're doing shows talking about other things. But really, it's an amazing thing that you've had the opportunity to bring in judicial candidates, people running for city office, for county office. You know, those are important things, and people don't see those people on TV being interviewed very often.
No,
they just read about them in the newspaper now and then.
You know what? I remember one guy. I heard this guy say this in synagogue about 4 years ago, and he was mentioning one of the reasons he watches the show. He says the president of the United States has very little effect on me. The U.S. senator from Illinois has very little effect on me. My congressman has very little effect on me, but my alderman, my state rep, they affect me plenty. You know, because they directly affect his life, whether he gets his garbage picked up, whether his street winds up getting paved, you know, whether his state representative and state senator. Unfortunately, in our neighborhood, they don't bring any money into the neighborhood. You know, are actually getting grants for the neighborhood. This area is so underfunded. It's one of the least funded areas in the state of Illinois. You know, by the state of Illinois. Of course, the state of Illinois isn't funding anybody anymore. But that's another story.
You know, often before I have a political candidate on my show, I'll often call Avi on the phone and ask him, tell me about this person. You know more about them. Tell me a little bit about them, things I should know. Tell me what you think right now, because people don't get to ask you your opinion about things. Tell me what you think about the new property tax hike in Chicago that has been passed. Tell me what you think about the television tax, which is about to go for vote. What is your opinion about those things, Avi? Because you have a political insight that other people don't have.
Well, I hate to say it because I really despise Rahm Emanuel, to put it nicely, but he doesn't have much of an option. The fact is, by law, he's got to contribute X amount of money, which is a gigantic amount of money, for the teachers' pensions. Not teachers, cops, firemen, I don't even know exactly
Public officials.
But the truth is that money needs to be raised one way or another, and that money is going to hurt big time. You know, I'm not looking forward to a $500 hike in my property taxes. And the bad thing is that this is just the start. It's going to have to get deeper than that, because the problem needs to be eliminated, but it is such a serious problem, it might not even be in a fixable state. I think you're going to wind up seeing some public entities that legally can go bankrupt, actually, in the city and in the state. Now, and unions.
Yeah. So now the Chicago Access Network, which is the local television provider for local shows, just moved into a new facility after struggling with money in their old facility. The city finally came through and helped them, and it's a wonderful thing. And now the city is bringing on a television tax for people who have cable, who have different television services coming into their homes, and of course, it'll affect everything that has to do with public television as well. What do you think about this? You know, it seems like we've already gotten entertainment taxes too already. What do you think about that?
You know what? The bottom line is, and I, rather than nickel and dime all these stupid taxes, and rather than put on all these regulations and these stupid red light cameras run me out of my mind, the fact is they need X amount of money. Okay? They just, people aren't going to like it, but the truth is, they ought to be straightforward, and it's got to be through some conventional. It's got to be through income tax, sales tax. There's ways to do it. I don't like the idea of doing it through real estate tax. I think that maybe a city income tax or sales tax is questionable because you've got poor people involved. There's not a good way to do it, and people are going to get hurt. People are going to get ticked off. But that money legally needs to be raised. Of course, I think that if there was any real answer, and I really got to close out the segment right now, is that the Democrats who control the state legislature should reopen a constitutional convention of sort, or pass laws to the Constitution that makes it legal to be able to not kill or greatly reduce, but to be able to somewhat modify or allow to be modified some of these pension benefits, because it's not affordable and unions are going to go bankrupt, cities are going to go bankrupt, it's not going to work, and we're killing time from the judges.
And I want to thank you so much. TVRabbi.com, my schedule and my TV show schedule on television as well as on the internet. Avi, thank you for having me on the show as always. NTNM, what a great place to go.
Thank you, and thank you so much, Rabbi Doug, and please enjoy your show. It is terrific. Be well. Okay.
Shalom, shalom.